on this site. I don't know. You can double tap, pin people. Wow. So hi everybody.
Well, hey.
Okay, Paulo, you want to say hello to everybody?
Oh, here's your supervisor.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the camera off, but I will hear you guys.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Good to see you. Okay.
The boys got their voices muted.
Me, because he didn't want to hear the dog.
Okay.
Hey,
How's
Ken,
everything? What's
Ken,
that?
my friend, my good longtime friend Ken has joined us. He's a repeat offender on several Chile tours in Colombia, and where else have we gone, Ken? All the events that we've done forever. Good to see you.
Hi, Ken. Nice to meet you.
You're on mute, Ken. So if you want to unmute yourself, you can. You don't have to. Should be a little button at the bottom, maybe, that has a microphone on it. Well, you figured that out. So, Ken, on the call right now are Norm, Natalia and Norm. Natalia's up in Alaska, in Anchorage, I believe, and Norm is up in Philadelphia.
That's correct. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
All right.
Alaska. Oh, that's nice and cool.
There he is.
It's very cool. I'll show you. I show you how. Oh, sorry. I was going to switch the. I don't know how to switch it. Whatever. I'll show you how cool it is right now. Raining and about 50 degrees probably.
It's the opposite of here.
Beautiful peonies.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
I don't know what's better.
I was driving home from Charleston the other day, South Carolina, back up here to Greenville in that area, and the little thermometer on the car read 100 degrees.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, me and Norm just experienced that in Bavaria.
Did you? Yeah, well, okay. Fantastic.
With no AC in the hotels.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. So quick questions.
What made it worse is they had a music festival right outside the hotel room until 1 or 2 in the morning, and you had a choice of either shutting your window and suffocating or opening your window and listening to this noise and losing your hearing.
And still suffocating.
Well, we'll give it a couple more minutes. It looks like we've got some folks on here. Bernadette and Laura. I'm not sure we've met before, but welcome. So quick introduction. So Norm and Natalia were on our 2025 extended tour in Chile, where we did some hiking and did a little bit of cycling and some wine sipping and pisco sour drinking, and just had a great time over about 10 or 11 days, right, Norm? Somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So this is another step above, where we're going to do 16 or 16 and a half days and venture over into Argentina. As I mentioned, Ken has been on many tours, I think 3 or 4 times down in Chile, definitely twice down to Colombia in 2021, and then just recently this past December, where we did another gravel tour. So Ken, I tell the story often. We part of the Colombia tour, and we'll get to our presentation here in a minute. Hey, Kevin. Part of our Colombia tour is whitewater rafting, and it's serious class 4.
Oh, you got to tell that story.
Oh yeah, can I tell it? So
yeah, that's a good story. That was the best part of the trip.
I love it. I've told this a bunch of times since then. This only happened this past December, early December. In fact, it might have been on my birthday, like the 5th or the 6th, somewhere in there. Anyway, we part of that trip is whitewater rafting on like day 2 or 3, somewhere in there, and we're going down the valley. It's what's the name of the national park in Valley? I forgot it now. Anyway, it's a big whitewater rapids site, and there's a couple different rivers, but the main one we go down, and it was pretty choppy. We did it in 2021, and that was a lot of fun. Lots of video and photos from that. But this past December, was I think another step up. In fact, the tour operator for the whitewater rafting portion moved us down, so we would skip sort of the really rough stuff that was way overfilled this year, and really serious class 4 rapids. In fact, it was almost like hot chocolate color. It was really murky and muddy, but really, really rough. So we did that, and we get to kind of a midsection of this tour, like of this whitewater rafting, like we did in 2021, and find this little spot. But I think just before that, actually, it was when the tour operator of the whitewater rafting guides offered to all of us in the raft, and we just had one raft this time. Hey, who wants to jump out, and we'll do kind of a practice rescue of somebody falling out. So Ken raised his hand, and my other buddy Chris raised his hand, and I'm like, oh, these guys, this is going to not end well. I'm not sure this is in the insurance. They jumped out of the raft. They took him over to a rock, and they jumped out of the raft. Ken was first. Pat's there. I don't know if Pat's heard this story. Ken was first, and he jumped off the rock, and he just disappeared for a second or two. We weren't sure if he was going to pop back up. And my friend Chris was behind him, so he jumped. Gave it a second or two, and he jumped into the rapids, and he probably landed partly on Ken, I think, somewhere down in the rapids. They both popped up, so we kind of scooted over to them and kind of hauled them in as sort of a practice rescue, and then we continued on our way. But you can tell that the safety protocols in a country like Colombia are a little bit lower standards than what you might expect in the United States. We had a lot.
Dieter, can I? So you're trying to sell us on this trip? I'm not thinking.
Not doing a good job.
That's Colombia. I think what happens in Colombia is a little bit different. So we'll talk about Chile, which is a much more refined experience, as Natalia and everybody else here that's been to Chile before. So quite a bit more refined. But that's a true adventure. If you want a true adventure with some really crazy days, you go to Colombia.
That was really an adventure. And then my wife noticed the picture later on. She said, "What happened to your shoe?" And when I dived in, the water shoes that I had, I lost one. So now we have to hike out of this valley, and it's not an easy hike. And I had no shoe. The guy, one of the guides, loaned me his shoe, so I had to walk up with his boot. And
That's
then
right.
I gave it to the other guy that went back down and helped him bring the raft back up.
Yeah, I forgot
Dieter,
about
you
that.
didn't provide donkeys for these folks?
No donkeys on that trip.
No, they were jackasses all by themselves.
That's my wife here.
Sounds like they're all jackasses to me.
Yeah, only the cycling kind, you might say. So we had fun. That was more of a gravel tour, but a true adventure. That was we've done that twice now, and some crazy stuff in Colombia. But it's a beautiful country. If you ever want to go to Colombia, we actually have, and I'll tell you this, we've got a road tour lined up for October, around a large event there. So in Cartagena, actually, so a different area. In any case, welcome everybody. A little bit over, so I appreciate everybody's patience. We'll I think maybe a couple more people might join a little bit late. And I'll admit them. I think I have to manually admit them if they join a little bit late. But again, thank you everybody. This is kind of and my name is Dieter. If I haven't met you, and some maybe some slightly unfamiliar names on the call, but thank you also for joining. This is my name is Dieter. I've been running this tour company since 2015 or 16. In fact, Ken actually went on our inaugural tour down in southern Chile in 2016. So we've been doing this about 10 years. Prior to that, I started an events business back in 2005. called Anthem Sports. You can notice the familiar name. We produce a bunch of cycling events all over the U.S. In fact, it's almost about 150 events we've done since 2004, actually. So some big ones, some small ones, and everything between. But about 10 years ago, we decided we're going to branch off and do more tours, things like southern Chile and Colombia and even Iceland and some other places around the U.S. And it's been successful so far, thanks to everybody. A few people that are on this call, and probably well over 200 or 300 people now, I think, probably since then. We don't do a lot of tours. I tend to go to places where I want to go personally, and Chile was the first one I went to back in 2015, actually, with my retired Spanish teacher father. He and I went down there, and I think I've told this story. We went down there prospectively in 2015 to kind of look around and drive some of the same routes that we've been continuing to ride on since then. So, and stopped at some of the same hotels and forged some relationships with restaurant owners and hotel owners and other folks down there. So it's been real successful. The culmination of that is doing something like what we're going to describe here today, a more extended tour. Typically, we do week-long tours, so Saturday to Saturday, sometimes a couple days here and there, but more or less it's a 7 or 8 day tour. And what we discovered with Norm and his group back in 2025, a year and a half ago almost, was that it was a lot more fun to add more content and extra days to the tour, so we're not rushed around so much, jumping from hotel to hotel. We're sticking around a few more, maybe a day or 2 or 3 days, doing some hiking, doing some kayaking, and some just relaxing in free time. So we learned from that, and thank you, Norm and Natalia, who are on this call, and Kevin, who's on the call. You're all on that tour, and we learned from that and said, okay, this is more our speed now. Why don't we take our time and really see the country, sample it, really, and get the culture in more ways than just riding your bike from point to point. So this is what we're doing. So this presentation is around a tour that we're planning for February 26th through March 14th, 2027. It's a 16-day tour. So Norm's group, we did an 11 or 12-day tour. So this is just an even extension beyond that. We're going to go to a few more places that we've always wanted to go, including Bariloche, Argentina. So we're going to cross the border in Argentina. Before that, I'll talk about it. We're going to spend some days in, let me skip down here. Do one more page. How do I do this? Do this. How do I go down to the next page? I'm trying to go down to the next page. I think no, I need to do this. Okay. Here's kind of a description of the tour. We're going to start up in Santiago and see Santiago for a day or two and do the cable car rides and sample the culture and some really nice parts of Santiago. Stay at a nice hotel there, and then we're going to drive down to the Cochuga Valley to do some wine sampling and some hiking, some cycling for sure. And then we're going to go to Valdivia. Actually, we're going to fly from this map is not quite to scale. The Cochuga Valley is quite a bit closer to Santiago than it's represented on this map. So it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Santiago down to the valley. So we're actually going to drive back up. And I'll describe this in the presentation, back up to Santiago and take a domestic flight down to Valdivia, another town that I've always wanted to take a tour on. And that's right on the coast. We're going to do some coastal riding and tour the Kunzman Brewery there, which I've always wanted to do, and stay there for a couple of days. Again, another nice hotel. And then we're going to drive down via tour van and our trailer, bike trailer, and luggage van down to Puerto Varas, and that's about an hour and a half. Again, another 2 hour drive or so down to Puerto Varas, and then we're going to ride from there up. It's not quite to scale on this map, but we're going to eventually end up in Bariloche in Argentina after a border crossing. A couple of hotels in between there, and then the last leg of the trip, we're going to go down to Chiloé Island, which is this island south of Puerto Varas and Puerto Montt, sort of on its own in the Pacific. So we'll sample some of that, do some riding and some hiking and some sightseeing down there as well. Again, over 16 days or so. Definitely more relaxed. Not every day includes cycling, and I'll talk about some of those days, and we'll kind of run through it a little bit. The travel, we'll talk about that at the end as to how to get there and how to get out of there at the end, and maybe how you can piece this together. There are a couple people that I know that may not be able to do all the legs, but we'll present it as one tour for now. But anyway, the goal is to see the city culture and the vineyards and the Pacific coast, and of course the volcanoes. As everybody knows who's been to Chile, the volcanoes are always present. The Andes are right there. This is so if you've not been to Chile before, a lot of people have. There's no real epic climbing unless you really want to on one day of this tour up a volcano, which a lot of people here have done. But there's really no epic climbing. It's really very much rolling countryside. Everybody thinks, well, Chile and the Andes, it must be all mountains. It's not. It's very much rolling countryside and Pacific views, as you can see here, and just beautiful. And that's very rolling countryside. And basically, when we do our normal 7-day lakes tour, we're just going lake to lake to lake along the rolling countryside, keeping the Andes on our left in most cases. So that's kind of the overview of the tour. And again, this is more conversational. We'll do a formal webinar sometime later in the month, let's say. But this is really kind of let's call it a fact-finding presentation to get your feedback a little bit before we unleash it to the general public and start advertising this full time. Any questions so far? Okay, and feel free to jump in and interrupt me at any time. Okay, here's the tour at a glance, like we talked about. It's about 16 days, 2 countries, 9 out of the 16 days, there are ride options, and roughly 7 base regions where we're going to be. Again, we're bouncing around southern Chile, starting in Santiago, and then southern Chile, Argentina, Chiloé Island, etc. So we're going to visit all these areas. Valdivia, we're doing a lot of cycling, some kayaking. We're going to visit, I think it's 2 wineries in the valley. We're going to do a brewery tour, as I mentioned, the Kunstmann Brewery tour over in Valdivia. There's the Andes crossing, so we're going to ride close to the border in, for example, on day, I think it's day 8 or 9, we're going to ride from Puerto Varas up to the Argentinian line. We're going to take the van from there. Just logistically, it's easier to get across the border in a van altogether with the bikes. And then we're going to end up down in Bariloche, and then we're going to cross the Andes via ferry and boat. Ferry and it says ferry and boat and ferry and bus actually over the Andes back to get to Puerto Varas at the other end on the west end of the Andes back in Chile. Lots of really nice hotels, some really nice hotels that we've always wanted to stay at. Actually, Hotel Ewa, which is in Puerto Varas. We'll be staying there one night. I forgot which night it is. The Termas Puyehue, which Ken, if you remember, and Pat, the tour that you went on in 2016, we're going to stay at that really nice hotel over in Puyehue off the lake there with the hot springs nearby, and a bunch of other hotels. And again, probably 12 or 13 different hotels that we'll be staying at, somewhere in there. Not quite that many, actually. Okay, we'll jump in kind of a day by day. We've kind of yeah, please go ahead.
This is Daniel Wolfson. Nice to meet you, and nice to meet some people I know.
Yeah, welcome.
They're still talking to me after the last trip. Where do you fly out of?
Yeah, where do you fly out of? From leaving Chile?
At the end.
Yeah, you'll leave out of Puerto Montt, PMC. P as in Paul, M as in Mary, C as in cat, PMC. Yeah. You'll be flying into Santiago, SCL. And then we're taking a domestic flight, which is covered as part of the tour. It's a very cheap, it's not that expensive and a very short flight. So we include that. Your travel exterior to Santiago and Puerto Montt obviously would be your responsibility. But we have a whole survey system as to how we coordinate everybody's arrival time. And as you know, as everybody that's been on our tours before, we kind of build in a couple of extra buffer days because travel is what it is. And not everybody gets there on time all the time, including me a couple of times. So we always build in a couple extra days upon arrival. So, for example, we're going to be staying in Santiago for a day or two, and not too far away in the Colchuga Valley. So, if you arrive late, we can always make accommodations for that. But those are the two airports that we need to keep in mind. So we've kind of broken this up into four segments, actually. So that we'll call this the Santiago and the Colchagua Valley segment. We're going to start out everybody's going to arrive, as I mentioned, on no later than the 26th. Again, pending travel arrangements and schedules and things like that, and delayed flights. Arrive in Santiago. We'll pick you up at the airport. It's always important to us that we make sure that people see a friendly face. We'll have our Anthem Tours gear on, obviously, so everybody knows. Well, basically, we'll be there to pick you up, and then we'll check in the hotel and have a kickoff dinner that night, and then away we go. We're on tour. So the second night will be Saturday, the 27th. We're going to do a skyline walking tour and some free time in Santiago. We've got a number of staff members that are from Santiago in Chile, so we'll employ them, obviously, that they'll show us around Santiago and all the best sites. And I think, Norm, if I remember your group, when we did that, you stopped in Santiago and did sort of a pre-tour exhibition, right? Yeah. So we'll probably see some of those things, but we'll probably do some more during that day or two. Okay. So day 3, we're going to be driving via van down to, we call it a van transfer, down to the wine valley, the famous Colchagua wine region, do a welcome reception and do some horseback riding even, and as part of a vineyard tour, some tastings, do a master class of wine preparation and things like that, and do a lunch right at this beautiful winery right in the valley. And it kind of looks like, well, that's the Casa Verde vineyard is where we'll be. So that's day 3. Day 4, and maybe a bike ride that day, but probably not. No, actually, there is a bike ride. I'm sorry, that day didn't make it on the itinerary, but we'll have a bike ride that day as well. Beautiful area through Santa Cruz in that area. Again, another night in Santa Cruz. We're going to do some hiking that day, plus a bike ride if you want. This is a hike that I think, Norm, you recommended to me, and maybe you found it online. But this is a locally famous, regionally famous hike that it's not more than 6 or 7 miles, up and back, probably almost certain. In fact, it is up and back. Some beautiful views, as you can see. That's the view from the top of the hike there on the right. And then we'll visit yet another vineyard, the Santa Cruz Vineyard, and do a sort of a cultural tour in town. So that's day 4. I can find my controls. We'll go to the next one. If it lets me. No, it's not letting me for some reason. How strange. I'll go back here. Okay, that's where I need to go. Okay. All right, day 5. We're actually going to get up in the morning and we're going to shuttle back up to Santiago. I would rather drive 2 hours and fly an hour and a half or an hour south than drive 13 hours or 10 hours, I think it is, between Santa Cruz and Valdivia. So I think we'll fly south from Santiago, but it's just about an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe up to the Santiago airport. The bikes we won't have to take. Once you get your bikes in country, you won't certainly have to take them on the domestic flight. Our staff will they'll be driving down to Valdivia, and we'll take the shuttle back up to the airport and fly south, and they'll meet us there. So we're going to be in Valdivia for the next couple of days, and we'll have a shortish 20-mile ride, 20-mile ride along the coast out to the Calfuco Coastal Laboratory. And this is right on the coast. It's a locally famous laboratory where they do eco scientific type research, coastal scientific research right there on the water, basically. And it's a beautiful building. We'll tour that. Lots of cafes, lots of restaurants right along the waterfront. If you're familiar with the Pacific Coast Highway, it looks like that, basically, the coast on the left. It looks very similar to the PCH out in California. So we'll do that on the 2nd. So the 3rd, we'll also be in Valdivia. Valdivia, again, it's a wonderful coastal city, very scenic, very safe, and not too far from where we're going to be the next 3 or 4 days. So again, I've always wanted to have part of a tour in Valdivia, so we're finally getting to go there. We're going to do it the next day. We're going to do about a 40-mile ride up through the eucalyptus plantations. So if you're familiar with southern Chile, you know southern Chile grows eucalyptus trees, and it's very aromatic. On our bike ride, certain times of the year, it's a little bit more. But we're going to be doing that through the eucalyptus plantations, and a little bit more climbing that day. And then we'll end up at the end of the day at the Kunzman Brewery Southern Chile, as a lot of people know that have been there, it was settled back in the late 1800s by the Germans, believe it or not. Lots of German architecture, lots of German menus at restaurants, lots of German speaking people, believe it or not, lots of German influence in terms of the names of places and things like that. Kunstmann is a German beer, basically, that is brewed in Valdivia, and they have a giant restaurant and a brewery tour that will participate later in that day after the ride on the 3rd. So we're into March. So let me interject myself, let's say. The reason we're doing this in late February and early March is that this area of southern Chile is tourism central between, let's say, Christmas and the 1st of March or late February. If you can imagine the worst traffic at Lake Tahoe or, some of these resort type towns in the US, it's that in southern Chile. So we've kind of pushed the tour to later in their summer, let's say. So we can maximize our time on the road, so we're not having to spend too much time in traffic or anything like that. And then it's also safer, of course, for riding bikes. So that's why we're doing this in late February, early March. So now we're into March. So March 4th, we're going to be transferring by van down to Puerto Varas, by far my favorite city in southern Chile. I always start there. So a lot of times when we're doing our 7 or 8 day normal tour, I'll fly to Puerto Varas, even though a lot of our tours start about 4 hours north. I store all of our gear. A lot of our staff is based in that area. So this is by far my favorite city in the south of Chile is Puerto Varas. We're going to be transferring there, do some kayaking on the lake, and we're going to be staying again in Hotel Iwa, which is outside of town, out of town, all right on the lake, hot tubs, if you can imagine, a really, really super nice lakeside resort. This is it in Puerto Varas. It's probably the nicest hotel it's just outside of town, but it's the nicest hotel in that region. So we'll be staying there one night, and then we're back on the road. So no riding on the 4th. We're back riding actually between Hotel Ewa and Las Cascadas. It's only about 23 miles up along the lake, Lago Lanquihue on your left side. We'll be riding up to Las Cascadas. And I think Ken, I think you stayed there in the past. Norm and Natalia and Kevin, we didn't stay there. The hotel was under construction and changed ownership. So again, another one of my favorite hotels. We're going to be staying at Lodge Las Cascadas or Las Cascadas Lodge, right on the lake, hot tubs and some great. We'll enjoy some pisco sours on the beach there, maybe. A lot of fun. Very short ride along the lake.
Fire.
A little bit and a beautiful finish. Yeah.
Fire in a hot tub. That was the wood-fired hot tub.
Right. So it's all most of the hot tubs, the vast majority of hot tubs in the south of Chile are fire driven, fire heated. So it's really a unique experience. So if you can imagine a big hot tub, and then you've got this centerpiece, or maybe off to the side on one of the sides on the circular hot tub, that's where the fire furnace is, let's say, where they literally have to load it up with wood every once in a while, and a heat exchanger basically makes the hot water. Really a unique experience, and right on the lake, right? So Ken, I remember, right? We did that hot tub a couple 3 years ago, so a lot of fun. So good. So we're riding to Las Cascadas on the 5th, like I mentioned, right on the lake, and we're kind of doing the same thing on the 6th. We're riding up to, again, along the lake. We're going to ride past Lago Rupanco, and we're going to end up at Lake Puyehue, ride along that lake, and then we're going to ride out to the termas. So the hot springs, termas is another word, is the Spanish word for hot springs. So the termas de Puyehue are a regionally famous hot springs, and there's a beautiful resort hotel right nearby there. So we've stayed there a couple of times. We haven't stayed there in a number of years, but we're going to go back there this time. And it's right near the border of Argentina. So we're going to relax and enjoy this beautiful hotel. They've got all sorts of things to do in that hotel. Beautiful, beautiful views, obviously, beautiful gardens. There's a bowling alley of all things, and some really nice features of that hotel. So we're going to go back there on the 6th, and that's a Saturday. And then the next day, we are venturing into Argentina for the first time. So we're super excited about doing this. We've sort of approached this in the past, actually staying at this hotel. We a couple of guys, it was a smaller tour, maybe 7 or 8, 9 years ago. Smaller tour. The guys and ladies on that tour, they wanted to at least ride their bikes up to the Argentinian line. Well, they did. Basically, they left the country. I stayed at the border crossing, but they left the country, got their passport stamped, and rode up to the border along in the Andes and turned around and came back. So we didn't actually go into Argentina, but this is our first chance of going into Argentina, and I've always wanted to do this. So super excited about this. That Sunday morning, we're going to, as I mentioned, we're going to drive up to it's not too far from the hotel up to the border crossing and do that. It's going to take a little bit of time, maybe an hour to get through the border crossing. Then we're going to drive over the Andes, beautiful, beautiful pass, down into Villa La Angostura, which is a beautiful resort town north of Bariloche by about 52 miles. We're going to get our bikes out there. We're going to ride along the lakes in southern Argentina now. Again, it's the lake districts in both countries, and the Andes divides it. And we're going to be riding along the lakes in southern Argentina now, south to San Carlos de Bariloche, Argentina. So beautiful ride. What you'll notice on that day is that Argentina, because the Andes are there, they're ever present, they block all the weather. So all the weather comes up from the west, let's say, and hits the Andes, and all the rain ends up on the Chile side, and on the eastern side in Argentina, it's much more arid and dry. So you'll notice that when we descend down to Villa La Angostura after the border crossing, and certainly when you're riding that 50 or so miles down to Bariloche. Okay, day 11. Any questions so far? Okay. We'll get through this and we'll take some questions. A few more days. Monday, March 8th, we're going to be doing a hike, again, a hike right outside of Bariloche, and that's the view of actually from the top of that hike. We'll be looking back on the lake, and it's not too long of a hike, as I remember. It's only maybe a 3-mile hike, but certainly some vertical. And we'll do that right outside of town, and then we'll come back and enjoy the beautiful sights along the lake in Bariloche. Again, if you want to do a ride that day, there's an optional 40 or so mile ride that we can do. Again, it zigzags a little bit around the lake or near the lake, and then we come back via back road up to the hotel in town. Again, the hotel, we're staying right in Bariloche. Same with Valdivia, staying right in Valdivia. I mentioned Puerto Varas. We're staying a little bit outside of town this time at Hotel Ewa. And in Santiago, obviously, we're staying right in Santiago. The reason I do that is because I love to walk to restaurants. I think it's a more immersive experience when we're actually staying in town. You can do a little bit of shopping, and it's easier to have free time, obviously. So that's no different when we're staying in Bariloche. Okay, day 12 of 15 or 16. Okay, so Tuesday, March 9th, we're back in, is that right? Yeah, so we're going to be basically 2 days in Bariloche here, right? So on day 12, this is the Andes crossing I mentioned. So we have to take a boat, we have to take a bus, then we end up on, we basically cross the Andes via boat and bus and back roads a little bit through, not via our van, but basically it's another company that we contract with, both the boat and both the bus. The really nice buses and really nice ferry. I think Natalia and Norm, I think you were part of that ferry that we took along Lago Todos los Santos, that one free day that we had during your tour. We're doing in the opposite direction for this tour, coming from Argentina. If you remember some of the other people that were on that ferry and in that restaurant, they were continuing on into Argentina. Well, we're doing the same thing, except we're coming from Bariloche, Argentina, back over to Chile on that same boat, using that same boat and bus ferry service. Should be an epic day. That's going to take a good part of the day. I think we meet at the boat launch, I think at about 9 o'clock in Bariloche or nearby. And it's probably a good 6-7 hours, probably all said and done. Boat, bus, that kind of thing to get back into Chile. And then we'll have an optional ride that day. This time of the year in Chile, fortunately, The sun doesn't set until probably about 9:15 or so, 9:30. So we've got plenty of daylight to get some extra riding this day. So we'll be right adjacent to Volcano Osorno, which a couple of people on this presentation, this meeting, they've been up. So we'll be right near there. We're going to ride from the lake, Lago Todos los Santos, all beautifully new paved road back to Ensenada, Chile. And then we'll have the option to ride up the volcano that day if you want. If not, then you can continue on to Puerto Varas about another 15 or 20 miles. All right, so day 13. So that ends our time in Argentina, and I'm super happy about that. We'll spend a day in Puerto Varas to kind of unwind, because that's a bit of travel. The day before, we're going to spend a day to decompress, let's say, in Puerto Varas, have some free time, so some time on the lake, maybe. The beach, the waterfront there is beautiful. Hopefully you have good weather. You can spend some time on the beach. Very popular when the sun's out. We can do that, or you could ride about 42 miles up to another German-inspired, German-settled town called Frutillar, which is about 20 miles up and back, 21 miles. Beautiful new roads, and we'll do that for anybody that cares to ride that day. And we'll finish the day by doing a Lago Yanquihue boat tour. So we'll charter a boat that takes us out and does a tour along the lake, and we'll get a different perspective from the lake, seeing the volcanoes, all of the Andes to the north east, and south, I guess it would be southwest, right on the lake, and serve some wine and hors d'oeuvres from the boat. So super excited about that day too. Again, Puerto Varas is just an amazing town. Okay, onward to day 14. Okay, so Chiloé, you can see the dot on the map on the upper right. That's the lowest, the furthest south dot. We're going to be traveling to an island called Chiloé, which is part of Chile, and we'll be traveling there via van and ferry. Actually, we have to take a ferry from near Puerto Montt over to nearby the city of Ancud, Chiloé in Chile. Chiloé reminds me a lot of Maine and kind of the rugged northeastern states along the Atlantic. It's very, very similar to that. It's the fishing communities dotting the coast along the island of Chiloé. But we'll transfer over there to the city of Ancud, and we'll ride about 30 miles out to one of my favorite places, actually, Puñuil, which is right on the coast. It's a very remote little town with a bunch of little restaurants and cafes and things like that. But basically, the little town of Puñuil sits right on the ocean. And we'll have the option maybe taking a little boat tour to see some penguins. The Magellanic penguins that's the northernmost reach for penguins in Chile, is that area on Chiloé. So we'll have the option of doing that. Beautiful day, beautiful coastal ride. It looks exactly like the road. In fact, that is the road we'll be riding on the far left from Ancud. Actually, we'll go from Ancud out to Puñuil on the island of Chiloé. So day 15, almost there. So day 15 on Friday, March 12th, we'll take the actually the day before, the end of that day on the 14th, we're going to be driving down to the largest city in Chiloé, and it's not a large city at all, but it's called Castro, and that's now on the eastern side of the island, sort of the estuary type area of the island, of the still all Pacific ocean water. We'll take a morning ride about 30 miles, basically out and back along Lago Cucao. Cucao is actually a name of a bird in Chile, so the lake is such named. And we'll do an afternoon guided tour of this is a tough name to say, so Tepehueco Park. So it's a little island off of Castro. Take a little ferry over there. We'll do a tour of sort of an eco park, and again, it's more or less all day. So the morning ride would have to be an early, maybe 7 o'clock ride that morning for anybody that cares to ride that morning, because the tour will depart from Castro at about 10:30 a.m. I think they do a little bit of training and things like that, and get us on our way. So we'll spend the balance of the day over at the Tepehueco Park. Oh, phone call. I think I'll cancel that. Okay. And then on the 16th, so we'll spend, again, 2 days, the 11th and 12th in the city of Castro in Chiloé. And on Saturday, really our last full day, we'll transfer back up to Puerto Varas, which again is about 2 hours via ferry and and tour van up to Puerto Varas, and enjoy Puerto Varas, have some free time. Again, hopefully the weather's good that day, the sun's out, you'll spend some time out on the beach, and we'll have our final tour dinner, wrap-up dinner that evening at one of my favorite restaurants in Puerto Varas. So that's the tour. And the next day, we'll get up and have some breakfast at the hotel. We'll probably almost certainly stay. In fact, I know we're going to be staying at Hotel Salas, which a lot of you are familiar with. We stayed there many, many times in the past in Puerto Varas, Chile, where it's very, very convenient, walkable to all the shops and all the restaurants and the beach and everything else. So the next day we're departing. And the tour shuttle, obviously, we provide from the hotel over to the airport. It's about a 25-30-minute transfer over to the airport. And we'll say goodbye from southern Chile. Okay, so again, this is sort of a wrap up and why consider it and why it's different. Again, this is a 16-day tour. It's vastly, considerably different than what we normally do down there. We're doing those shorter tours down there again this year, obviously in January. But this is a departure from that. If you really want let's call it a truly cultural experience in southern Chile and Santiago and Argentina and some remote places like Chiloé Island, this is the tour. Again, this is the tour that I've always wanted to do, but I've always just done the 7 or 8 day tours, and it's a little bit of rushing around as people that have done those tours before. This is definitely more relaxed, where we're staying overnight and really nice hotels, 2 or 3 nights sometimes, and some easy riding, not the 70 or 80 mile rides that we sometimes do for the 7 or 8 day tour, the Lakes and Volcanoes tour. These are shorter rides. Again, all rides are 100% optional. If you don't want to ride and you want to ride in the tour van, that's certainly fine. Or if you want to ride a portion of the ride, beginning, middle, or end, perfectly fine. We don't have any hard and fast rules as to how much riding you need to be doing. We don't do that. So if you want to ride a little bit, a lot, some, none, all of that's all good. We're happy to accommodate anybody. We will have e-bikes available for this tour for rent. And also standard road bikes for rent for this tour. So if you don't want to bring your own bike down to southern Chile, sometimes that can be a challenge logistically, getting your bike packed up and transferred on the plane and everything like that. If you want to rent bikes down in southern Chile, perfectly, that's fine. Again, we've got e-bike options. We've got standard road bike options, everything in between. Again, we're not rushing. We put together some of these roads we've been on in the past. A lot of these roads we've been on in the past, and I'll be there in January on some of these roads. They're curated by us, a lot of it by me personally. Certainly the hotels and restaurants and everything else. All of those items on the tour we've been to before. We've seen these things. We know who to talk to, but they're not epic rides like I mentioned. Again, recovery is certainly a big part of this tour, where we're decompressing for a day, not doing any riding unless you absolutely want to, enjoying the hot tub, the hot springs. We'll visit the hot springs, obviously, lakeside. We're staying on the lakes. The views are amazing. Southern Chile, again, it's a gem. It's kind of an undiscovered gem, but people from the U.S. are finding it more often now. So really beautiful part of the world. The culture, the wine, the food. As I've joked with a lot of people, and maybe I've shared this with some people on this meeting, sometimes I go, you're in the hustle and bustle of life in the U.S. and you're stopping at fast food and things like that, and you're not eating so well. Every time I go to southern Chile, I come back, I feel like I've gone through a detox, because the food is so amazing. It's all authentic. None of it's processed. They don't do really any processed food. Santiago, you might see more of that. It's the major metro center. But these areas that we're visiting in the south, they just don't do that. There's not a lot of frozen food. There's no real chain restaurants at all. It's all very authentic. So it's been a lot of food is, you can honestly say, if you're eating it at the restaurant, it's probably been harvested within a day or two of you seeing it on your plate at the restaurant that day. So really an amazing experience with food and wine. And I've got the story tell about the famous Chilean wine that I'll hold for the tour. But it's just an amazing experience. And again, we're doing going to some of these areas that I've always wanted to take a tour on with with friends. So who's ready for South America? Anybody?
It does sound good. Peter, just for those who have not taken your trip, I just distinguish a little bit because I think you make it very personal.
I do.
How you differ a little bit.
So the first thing first, if you look at our website, we don't do many tours, right? We do some in places that I personally want to go, that I want to visit, and that I want to spend time with friends. So that's no different for this tour. And I go on the tour, right? I'm riding with you and enjoying all these experiences with you. As I've done, I think there maybe have been 2 or 3 tours. We've done about 20 or so, maybe 2 or 3 of those that I have not gone on in southern Chile. So I always take the opportunity myself to go. And so I'm leading the ride, and if depending on the number of people, we'll have maybe another person on the road with us, but staff basically helping out and supporting with the bikes, logistically, a tour mechanic, building up your bike after you've arrived, tearing it down and repacking it for you at the end of the tour. All of those little things we try to take care of. And again, there's no mysteries really. Some of the smaller tours we've done, we've kind of left it a little bit flexible where, if it's a smaller tour, we'll take a diversion here or there. And that's always an option. But with something like this, we try to stay flexible for sure. But something like this, we want to make sure that we're all getting a great experience, and we don't fall behind on schedule too much. We don't like to spend a lot of time in the van if we can avoid it. Again, my history in producing events, and I've done a bunch of events all over the country, lots and lots of them. I always cringe when I see people waiting in line, right? So I don't want that at all. And that includes waiting in a van or waiting in line at a restaurant. A lot of the restaurant owners are personal friends of mine. Certainly pretty much all the hotel owners or managers are friends of mine. Now we're chatting all the time about this tour and that tour and logistics and things like that. We hire local staff. We have U.S. staff, but we also have local staff, Chilean staff. So a lot of people know Carlos. A lot of people know Sebastian. And there'll be 1 or 2 or maybe all of those guys will be on the tour this time. It's a family-run tour company. So some family members have been on this tour or have been on tours in Chile before. And it's really a personal experience for me. And again, I want to make sure that people see southern Chile and experience it in the way that I would want to, as a cyclist, and also just as a traveler. I want to make sure that people get the full experience and enjoy the country as I've done since 2015.
Dieter, it all sounds very beautiful and exciting. You mentioned at the beginning that you broke it down into a few segments.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And hi, Danielle.
Hello, Natalia.
So the 3-4 segments. So yeah, I'll break it down. So again, we're starting in Santiago. So we'll call that Santiago in the Cochugua Valley, the wine region, Central Valley wine region. We'll call that segment 1-ish, right? So we're there in that area for segment 1 for, I guess that's probably 4 days total. Again, it's not too far of a transfer from Santiago because we're going down to the wine valley. We're going back up. So we're trying to stay in that area for a couple of days and enjoy that. Segment 2 would be the Puerto Varas, southern Chile. Again, the lakes region of southern Chile segment 2 in Valdivia. So we're in Valdivia, segment 2. Again, we're taking that domestic flight to Valdivia along the coast. Very, very different than Puerto Varas, which is a lakeside town, or even Santiago. It's not anywhere near the ocean, really. So now we're heading to the Pacific Ocean. So that's segment 2. Segment 3 would be the lakes region into Argentina, right? So from Puerto Varas up over the Andes, the pass, the border crossing, down into Villa La Angostura, and then ultimately in Bariloche, the Andes crossing back. So that's segment 3, sorry. And then segment 4 is the island of Chiloé. Again, all these things are van transfers a couple of times, but we're actually driving or riding from point to point, like we normally do for our 8-day tour, 7-8-day Lakes and Volcanoes tour. We're riding for segment 3 from point to point, sort of into Argentina. So that's one that has the flavor of our other tours. But we're 3 or 4 distinct segments of the tour for sure, and some beautiful landscapes in between.
We end on March 14th.
We do, yes, I believe. I've got a sort of a summary that I can share.
But by the time we get home, it's 15th.
Yes, so you're on the 14th, I believe. The 14th is the day that you're leaving. That's correct. Yeah. I can go there. So that's this day. Sorry, on the wrong screen. Yeah, so the 14th is the day you would depart, unless you want to stay longer, and we can help you book those extra hotel nights, and that's perfectly fine too. A lot of people do that. Some people come in early too. So if you have extra nights you want to add before or after the tour, we can certainly help you book those nights. We don't charge for anything like that unless we're doing shuttles and things like that. But if you want to stay an extra night or two on the front end or the back end, we can definitely accommodate that. But yes, that's the day that you would nominally depart Chile, or at least part of RS would be on the 14th of March.
Hey, Daniel,
Again,
nice
yeah,
to
go
see
ahead,
you again.
Yeah.
And, hey, Daniel, good to see you as well.
Good to see you, Kevin.
Dieter, I'm just curious, is there any overlap in the riding between, with the tour that we did a couple of years ago, particularly around Puerto Varas?
Not really, no. Maybe on one road, the lake road south of Lago Yanquihue, except you're going to be doing the opposite. No, you'll be doing it in the same direction actually when you come back from the Andes crossing that day. Yeah, so that would be the one overlap, really. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you mentioned
Kevin's only coming because he wants to do the volcano this year.
I was just going to say that is that the same volcano that
Same one.
Yeah. Same one.
You can get a second shot at it.
That's not happening. It wasn't happening 2 years ago. It's definitely not happening now.
It's a tough climb.
E-bike, boys.
That's right. Natalia did it on the e-bike, no problem.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I wouldn't go that far.
What are
It
the
was
roads
still hard.
like in Chile? Is there a shoulder, non-shoulder?
Yeah, they're all fantastic. I mean, they're as good or better than anything you see in the States in most cases. Yeah, the southern part of Chile really doesn't go through really hard winters like we would in like the Northeast or even in the Southeast. The roads get broken up pretty bad. There are some potholes and things like that and rougher roads, but generally speaking, the roads stay together, the pavement stays together because they don't get any freezing. Lots
And
of shoulders.
isn't it correct that cars don't pull off the road to shoulders when they want to just stop?
They don't pull off on the shoulder, or what do you mean?
Yeah, they don't pull over, they just stop in the middle of the road.
Sometimes that is true. Norman, perhaps.
It never happened, Norman. Never happened.
Yeah. In most cases, the shoulder, it's a 3 or 4 foot shoulder or wider. They do have road reflectors, as people remember, so sometimes those can be a little bit irritating, but and not all areas. But the bike paths are great. In fact, the road, the one overlapping route that we do Kevin and I were just talking about, that has a full-on bike path on the south side of that road all the way out to Ensenada. And it's like a 25-mile ride. It's a beautiful, beautiful lakeside ride. The roads are great. Yeah, really great. So I'll talk about a little about the drivers too. Let me unshare my screen here. The driving in drivers in Chile, I found, and I think a lot of people that have been on this tour or the other tours that we've done in Chile, they're a lot more respectful in southern Chile. The laws support it there vastly more than they do in the United States. It's basically an automatic felony if you hit any pedestrian, and that includes a cyclist in Chile. It's really very, very serious. So you'll see that reflected in the driving behavior. Nobody's laying on their horns, nobody's yelling at you, nobody's buzzing you with their mirrors. There's a lot of respect. Even if we have a line of cars behind us, again, in the US, you give that about 30 seconds and everybody's gonna be laying on their horn and blasting by you. That doesn't happen in Chile. And I've been there in 17 16, 17, a lot of trips and never experienced that. So it's very respectful. Again, the law supported in Chile, and I would imagine Argentina's going to be the same way. Yep.
Dieter, this is Pat. Two questions. How large a group do you think they'll be?
Again, our goal, we have a minimum for this tour, a minimum of 8. Because it's quite a bit of logistics, quite a bit of staffing, and quite a bit of this and that back and forth. You can imagine, it's costly flying back and forth and traveling back and forth with staff and things like that. So we have a minimum of 8 for this tour. If it's popular, we don't really have a maximum, but practically speaking, we've done larger tours with 16, 17 people. That's probably upper limit. Although, we've worked with groups on prospectively doing tours with 30, 40 people. So we can accommodate it. It's very scalable. Our nice size tour is 12 to 13. Really, for something like this, that would be a nice size tour.
And the second, to follow up on the question from the other gentleman, from the last day, do we fly to Santiago? And if so, how long does that take?
You do. So you fly from Puerto Montt, which is the next town over that's where the airport is, from Puerto Varas. Again, all right there, close by. All international travel, with some exceptions, all international travel into Chile flies via Santiago. So you'll have to depart the same way. You'll have to fly back up to Santiago, and that's about a 2-hour flight, somewhere there, maybe a little bit over, But it's brand new international terminal in Santiago, which is fantastic. But you should plan on, we'll talk about logistics at some point if you decide to go on the tour, logistics of navigating Santiago Airport sometimes. So that's gotten better. But that, international travel is what it is. Sometimes there's delays here and there. The Puerto Montt Airport, in contrast, is very small, local airport, caters to tourists mostly, right? So this is an area of Chile where lots of Europeans, increasingly more people from the US visit. Everybody from Santiago visits southern Chile. So this is like the Riviera of Chile, let's say. So everybody from Santiago, when they go to vacation, they vacation in the south. So as I mentioned, January and February are very, very busy times because of that, because that's their summer months. School gets out after Christmas. Now it's the summer months in southern Chile. That's where people visit. So you'll see that reflected in, the tourist towns that we stay at. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get there at the end of February, everybody's gone. We'll have the roads free and all the hotels and all the restaurants to ourselves. Which is what we had for Norm, Kevin, and Natalia's group a couple of years ago. We have basically used the same couple of weeks to do that tour, and we found very little traffic on the road and not a lot of fighting to get into restaurants and things like that. Again, this is all scheduled. We have reservations at all the restaurants. Everything is booked in advance. Hotels. There's no mystery there at all. But fewer crowds for sure this time of year. All right. Any other comments or questions?
No, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. What I'll do is I'll follow up to this. For anybody, Norm, I forgot to do this. And I want to thank Norm. Norm has been a great mentor, let's say, for guiding me, to convincing me to doing this tour. And it was definitely inspired by that tour that the 3 people on this tour did a couple of years ago. Just an amazing experience. So that inspired us to have further conversations, to do an even more extended tour and see some different areas that I haven't taken a tour before. And maybe some of you haven't seen who've been to southern Chile. So that's kind of the mission here, is to get more of a southern Chile or Chilean experience, so you can actually see the country. As you know, our normal tours, they're lake to lake to lake, so it's we're moving a lot. But I do that by design. If you're going to come to southern Chile, I want people to see the country instead of staying in a hotel. We would run out of roads to ride on for a cycling tour. We run out of roads to ride on very, very quickly if we stayed in one hotel in one town. So this is, again, more of a cultural immersive kind of experience of southern Chile, to kind of sample the different parts of the region. We do that for our normal tours. This is a step up from that, seeing Valdivia, Santiago, and Castro, Chiloé, in Argentina. So this is a true southern Chile, northern Patagonia tour.
Can I rent an e-bike and a bike?
You want it each?
Yeah.
Sure. Do whatever you want. Yeah. You can rent your motorcycle too if you want. We can do that too.
No, it's dangerous.
Dangerous. Yeah. Yeah. True. I've got very good friends that have done motorcycling tours in this area. In fact, further south into Patagonia proper. But there are companies that we could work with to do that too. As an aside, if anybody rides a motorcycle.
Did I
Pat
have
again.
you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. I'll wait.
Go ahead, Natasha.
Yeah, hey. And hi, Bernie, and hi, Kevin. I was wondering, Dieter, if you already decided on the price, or is it still work in progress?
It's still a little bit. It's advertised on our site. So it's again, our normal tour is about, for a week-long tour. Let's say this is two plus weeks. Our normal week-long tour is $5,400. Chile has unfortunately gotten quite a bit more expensive over the last 2-3 years since COVID. Honestly, it's gotten considerably more expensive. And there's a reason why. Obviously, Chile is sort of remote. You can think of Chile as kind of an island. You got the Andes there, so everything's imported, right? For cars and not food. Obviously, it's grown locally, but everything's imported, so it's hard to get to, things like that. So the price of Chile in general has gone up in the last few years. So our normal week-long tour is about $5,400. This one is just under, at least preliminarily, just under $9,000, and that includes everything. As I like to share, you get off the airplane in this case Santiago, and then you get on the airplane in Puerto Montt at the end of the tour. Everything's taken care of. We take care of everything. And if you want to rent a bike, that's a little bit more. If you want a single room, that's a little bit more. But we cover all the logistics, all the travel in between, including the domestic flight between Santiago and Valdivia, and all those logistics. But
Three meals a day?
Sorry?
3 meals a day?
All three. Yes, sir. And all the on the road ride nutrition and all the bad jokes and all the local flair that we provide as normal.
Daniel, you will gain weight. It is the only trip that you will actually gain weight.
If you're looking for a fitness experience, like I tell people that go to Ragbri, right in Iowa, I meant that I used to help produce. This is not a fitness experience. This is a cultural experience, and the bikes are just a tool to get from point A to point B sometimes, and to see the scenery.
Yeah, we didn't go hungry or thirsty.
We did. You do not go hungry in southern Chile. It's an amazing, culinary experiences alone are incredible.
What will be the temperature generally during the day? I know it's hard to predict, but.
Yep. Good question. This is the summer in Chile, southern Chile. So expect mid 70s to low 80s, probably in that range. Not much different than what we experienced a year ago, February. That was about the range, 70s to 80s, early 80s, low 80s. Yeah.
I got something that said March is considered one of the finest months to visit Chile.
Agreed. For all the reasons I mentioned: weather, climate, temperature, and lack of people on the road. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. We do tours in January we've got a contract training camp, a real fitness related training camp that we do, contract with another company in January. I tried to convince that company to move off of January because traffic in Pucón, Chile, a lot of people remember, which we're not visiting on this tour. Pucón, Chile is next level crazy, and Puerto Varas is kind of the same. I want to avoid that at all costs if we can with this tour, just to give people a bit more relaxed time on the road and safer time on the road. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Great presentation. Appreciate your putting it all together for us, Dieter.
You're welcome. As Norm and a lot of people know here, we have WhatsApp groups that we continue the conversation about tours, and then even after tours. And this was discussed actually in our WhatsApp group for our 2025 extended tour. What I'll do is I'll send out a link for anybody that's interested. We'll send out a link to join that WhatsApp group. WhatsApp is a texting messaging app. A lot of people are familiar with it. And we'll continue the conversation there. And again, we'll probably have more of a formal presentation that'll look a whole lot like what we just did the end of the month to kind of advertise it to more of the general public. This was kind of a test run with friends and family, let's say. and to get your feedback, obviously, so we can do this right.
When's your
Peter, did you,
go, no,
sorry, go ahead, Dan.
when's your go or no go date?
Oh, that happened a long time ago. We are a go for this for sure.
Oh yeah.
So we're pretty confident we'll get a good size group for this. Yeah. This will be a lot of fun.
Peter, did you record this presentation?
I don't know that I did, Norm. Yeah,
All right. The only reason I ask is because Antones and Tracy couldn't make it, and
Oh, I did
this
record it.
other guy that I mentioned could not make it. So
Okay.
we can forward it to them.
Yeah. No, I did.
Because they were very interested in it. They just weren't available this afternoon.
I just checked the settings. I did record it, so I'll it has to archive a little bit, but once that link is available, I'll send that out as well. Yep. And you're
The
welcome
only
to share.
thing
There's
that's
no secrets here, so we can
Peter,
share
the
that.
only thing that's missing
Yeah.
is the helicopter tour of the live volcano. All right. Can we arrange that?
Well, we're not going near that live volcano. So what Ken's referring to is volcano Villarrica, which is up outside of Pucón. That is a very live volcano. For that tour, we had dinner right on the volcano. In fact, I think we did it with Norm and Kevin and Natalia's group a couple of years ago. And very live volcano with a lot of lava. Different times, sometimes it's not as active as other times. But the last time I was there, as I remember, we saw the lava coming over the top of the volcano.
But
Can I just say that I climbed that volcano on
You
the
did?
same, a different trip that Kevin was on, and Kevin chickened out. Just
Oh,
saying.
The Eureka, you did fantastic. Yeah.
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 It's a tough climb.
Oh yeah. The
Yeah.
last couple of years, it's been code red, orange alert up there, so you can't get within 500 meters of the top. Any tour group that goes up there, you can get close to it, but you can't actually go to. In the past, they've allowed groups to go out right up to the rim, but it's way too active now. Yeah.
That's the reason I didn't climb it 2 years ago, Bernie.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But it is important that Bernie join us on this trip, because for those who cannot make it up to the top of the volcano, she will coordinate a free transport to
Fantastic.
get us to the top through
Love
her
it.
connections.
Hired. Love it. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Hi, Norm.
Hey, Bernie.
Hey,
Well, I can tell you
Dieter.
that my yoga teacher is game, and she will
Right.
she will instruct us at any time that we want.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk about some of the other amenities. Massages, if you want, we'll build in some massage days if you want to do that. And Norm has volunteered as yoga instructor to do some remote yoga classes for us anytime, a couple of those days, let's say. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Dieter, did Israel and Carly expressed any interest in that trip?
Great question. So Israel and Carly are two guests that we had on that trip in 2025. I reached out to them, but they haven't got back to me. That's a great story. I'd love to have them back.
Yes, that would be fun. We could celebrate their wedding.
Their wedding.
Finally.
So for everybody's benefit here, they got engaged during that tour in February of 2025, and that was really quite a tour. For that reason and others, it was just an amazing trip, including the power outage we had in.
I was just thinking about it.
but
What
you-
a great singer Israel is. Yeah.
And Kevin threw the engagement party for them.
Yes,
It was
that's
so
right.
nice. I don't remember it real well, but it was so nice of Kevin to do that.
We were singing songs by candlelight at the hotel there. Yeah, that was great.
There was a fireplace.
Yeah, with the fireplace too. Yeah. So
No, it all
unfortunately,
sounds
we
very
can't get that hotel
exciting.
this time. We'll be staying at a different hotel, but yeah, that's a great spot. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Again.
This is all very exciting, and I'm definitely interested and would love to be added to that WhatsApp group.
Thank
And
you.
I'm entertaining idea of maybe not starting from the very beginning just to save
Sure.
the time.
Yeah.
And then if I understand right, then I'll just join you in Santiago later. Is
Sure.
that how it works?
No, not at all. So if you don't want to do the wine region, yeah, we can definitely meet you and we'll coordinate that. So you just come in a few days later. That's absolutely fine. Yep.
Okay, in Santiago, right?
In
Is that
Santiago.
what I meant?
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll save you some bottles of wine.
maybe. If we don't
I
drink
come
them,
to you, Danielle.
The wine in
Yeah.
southern Chile is fantastic, and you've probably seen it in your grocery stores now. When I first started going to Chile in 2015, you could find a Chilean wine in any local, in the U.S. local wine store. Now it's all over because that whole industry has blown up. It's an amazing set of wines down there. Yeah, really good stuff. And the Argentinian influence doesn't hurt either. A lot of Malbecs and Carboneras and everything in between. And then the famous Pisco sours, right? That we enjoy in southern Chile. Amazing.
It was amazing.
Every day, every single day, we had a pisco sour.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
fun. Well, good stuff. Again, it's great seeing a lot of familiar faces here, and welcome to the new folks that are joining us. And it sounds like a lot of people know each other, so that's great too. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So look for.
It would be great if everybody goes.
Yeah, I hope so. Fingers crossed. Again, we'll advertise this to the general public again, as I mentioned. So people like Carly and Israel were products of that, obviously 2 years ago. So great memories, great friends now, but we'll advertise that more broadly pretty soon. But in the meantime, I'll send out a follow-up email to anybody that was on the original email list for this presentation, and there's probably 17 or 18 people actually on that list. Not everybody can make the meeting. I'll include a link to this recording so you can share it with friends and family or anybody that might be interested. And I'll also send a link out to the WhatsApp group that I'll create for this tour specifically.
And can you send us the link to your website? I got online and I think I got a different tour group.
Yeah, it's anthemsportstours.com.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll send it out. That'll be included in that email that I sent. Yeah.
Dieter, what booking deposit will you be looking for at this point?
Yeah, so $1,000 to book this tour for sure. So anytime, again, there's no hard and fast date for that other than up until 30 days in advance. We'll take people as we can, but we're going to try to book the hotels by no later than, by August for sure, locked in. And I'll probably overshoot that with a release date for those hotels by no later than, December 1st. So the deposits are reflective of that, obviously. So sooner the better for the deposit, but no hard and fast date for that. Yeah.
And Dieter, are you considering to offer, I think, as you kindly did at the time, the 10% discount for the early check-in or for group check-in? I can't remember exactly what was
it's
that.
already, that's sort of built into the pricing. It may not be quite that much, but on October 1st, the price definitely goes up by $400 or $500. So you're getting the introductory rate for sure. At that it's $89.50. Yeah.
I gotta go, but count me in.
Okay.
As long as Kevin is going, I'm going.
Well, since Daniel going, I'm gonna go for sure.
I'm only going if Norm goes. So
I'm out. I'm out.
You're out.
I was gonna say Norm and Natalia, but
I'm only going if Bernadette goes.
Bernadette, Diane,
It's getting very complex here all of a sudden. Yeah.
Bernie, and nobody is going if you're not going. You know that, right?
Okay, well, I'll think it over. It's a lot of responsibility.
Thank
Ken,
you.
may
Bon
decide you don't
voyage.
even want to
See you,
go.
Pat, Ken. Good to see you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Bye,
All
guys. Good to see
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. All the
Talk
best.
to y'all soon. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Chop this off. Well, that's interesting. Going?